Welcome, apprentices and acolytes, to Unlock the Knowledge, the Star Wars podcast heard all around the galaxy, and today we're going to be talking about Star Wars visions. Let's go.
Ready up, my destiny.
Apprentices and acolytes, what a day. This is being recorded on May 5th, and you know Revenge of the Fifth fam, that's the way we do it in here. And Star Wars Visions has all been released on the 4th of May. I hope you all had a fantastic Star Wars Day, fam, because this is one of my favorite days, one of my favorite weeks in the entire year. And you know, it's gonna be a special time when you're coming into the Dark Temple, visited by Mara Jade, Luke Skywalker, and Kyle Katarn, and so many of the Force sensitives like yourself. I am Lord Dagovere, and I'm so glad to have you all here today. Let's go. The streams for Jedi Survivor have been so fun. I'm so glad you all been turning up for them. Dude, we had like 20 viewers at one point, which is quite a lot for me to have a lot of people in live and watching everyone, having everybody watch me fall off a cliff and do stupid things because that's the way I do it. You know, sometimes I can be really awesome and smooth. Other times, majority of the times, 80% of the time in my life, I am not. And it's really fun. It's a fantastic game. I'm actually gonna play a little bit more today, and so we can get and finish this game, because I don't want no spoilers. But let's talk about it, all right? Let's talk about Star Wars Visions. And I feel like there's so many people that just disregard animation. You know, they kind of feel like Star Wars anime is really for kids, or maybe they just don't like animation in general because they just can't take it seriously. I've seen a lot of those criticisms and those angles of opinions about whether or not they're going to watch it because it's not canon, and I get it. I understand it, but I do think a lot of these people aren't necessarily allowing themselves to dip more into the thing that they love the most. You know, this is Star Wars. They love it. Be more open-minded. Try it just a little bit. You know, watch it with your kids if you have any, or just see which one is probably the most receptive, that people are liking the most, and go in there and watch it. You know, allow yourself to try something new, and don't miss out on it, because I gotta say, Star Wars Visions needs to continue. I hope that they continue making Star Wars Visions. You know, the one thing I loved the most about this one is the different perspectives of Star Wars and how it has, and the cultures, right, around the world. That is the greatest representation of something, like, of human. You know, it's very hard for us to come together as a planet to do something. And now all these cultures, all these anime studios that are doing this around the world are showing their version of Star Wars. And a lot of them were solid this time around. I can say that I still prefer the first season more so than this season, but I don't think that this game, this season was better. I think that the overall average of the episodes were much more powerful. The story was much more coherent and interesting than last season's. But I think that last season's, like The Duel, The Ninth Jedi, The Village Bride, and The Elder, I feel like are just so much better than a lot of the first season. And I don't think a lot of the second season are better than those four. I do think, though, that Screeching Reach is phenomenal, and Screeching Reach is probably up there with The Duel of the Ninth Jedi. Like, that was absolutely amazing. I would love to see that. I would love to see an entire series based off that. It was easily, in my opinion, the strongest short. Sith was cool. Sith was good. I'm just not sure about the paint, and it's so expressive, you know. So I think that's going to be a little bit hard to create a series off of that, especially if you want to make it canon. I don't know if that's ever like an objective that they're trying to do, but you know, if this isn't going to be canon, you know, then let it go. Let the story play out. Let the creators do what the creators do, and let this stuff stand out, because I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it. I'm just not sure how you can bring that storytelling into Star Wars. It's kind of like The Duel, right? Where The Duel, I think, is so beautiful in its own way, just like Sith. And I think those two have something so similar in common, and that's the way they express themselves. And I always like the idea of legends, right? So you think about the Disney timeline, right? That's the current canon. But you think about the Legends continuity, right? They're called legends, in my opinion, because these stories aren't necessarily true, but this is someone's interpretation of them. So let's say you're in Star Wars, right? You're in the Star Wars universe, and you're sitting down amongst this fire and this outskirt planet, and these people, these travelers, are telling you about these stories, and they're telling you about the Sith short. They're telling you about the duel and the Ronin, and and it's all expressed, like you're visualizing it, you're telling at a campfire. That's the image you're getting in your head of these stories. That's why I think it can be canon. It's not a direct, exact, historical story, right? Factual story that's coming off of Star Wars. This is their interpretation of the events and the characters that happen around them. And that's what's so beautiful about Visions, because the cultures of the world, right, are the cultures of the galaxy, and how everybody's corner, everybody's little planet, they all have certain things that specialize them. And that's why the animation, I think, is so beautiful. And that's how you can ultimately create its own canon timeline. And that's essentially how you make it part of the story, because all this stuff, in my opinion, is canon to me. It can be canon, even the most wildest stories out there can be canon in some way, in some form. It's just you're hearing these stories from someone else who's telling you, and this is their depiction of what happened. And I think it's beautiful, and that's why Star Wars Visions needs to continue. And I'm so happy that we got shorts this time that weren't 10 minutes, 11 minutes long. These were like 19, 20 minutes. These were like a first episode to a 12 episode, 8 episode, 16 episode saga that I hope that we get in the future. I can't wait to see what's going to happen with Star Wars Visions. I do feel like they need to do more of this. I think they should allow people to get a little bit more power, because if this is going to be a reoccurring thing, right? If this is going to show up every 2 years or every 4 years or whatever that it is, let them do more, give them a longer timeline. Let them tell an entire story, because I do feel like a lot of these stories in these shorts, especially with both seasons, suffer from the lack of time that they're given. For instance, one of my favorite shorts that's not, I don't think could be as canon, is probably The Twins or The Village Bride, or I think with season 2, I think the one that suffered the most from the time that we saw was, what was it? Spy Dancer. I think Spy Dancer was beautiful, but I don't think it had enough time for you to really care about what actually happened with the mother and her child. And just when it's getting interesting, the short ends. And that's where I feel like the large flaw of this story is. I think that the mother in Spy Dancer was a fantastic character, fleshed out. I loved the show, and I think that that's where Star Wars is supposed to be at its strongest, is the family struggle, the conflict between family, and then allowing you to dip into their world, dip into their verse. And I just don't think 15 minutes, 19 minutes is enough for you to really care about what's happening in these stories. And so many things are forced to happen faster than they should have. For instance, like her realizing who's sitting there at her show, and why she falls off and can't do her dance and almost plunges to her death, and then why she tries to assassinate him. That whole story, I feel like, is just so claustrophobic when they put so much into one setting. And it's not the studio's fault. It's just the way that it's money, and then they need this at a certain time, and these stories are probably developing for years before we hear about them. So they probably go through so many different renditions of what's happening before they finally get where they want to, where it makes sense. And there probably is a lot of incredible story elements and characterizations and paths of these characters that we don't get to see, just because they just don't have enough time to make it. It's one short, and you have to make the best short that you possibly can for people to be excited about it. And I think that is why a lot of these shorts suffer, and they don't get as much love and appreciation as they should. And I think Spy Dancer is only one of the many that suffer from this. In Star Wars Visions 1, the last episode that I think was the Aki something, where at the end of the Jedi crash landed, and he was trying to save the people and help the rebellion rise up, and then he ultimately turned it to the dark side because he wasn't strong enough. I think that is a story that also suffered because it's hard to see the dynamic and the two cosmic flow of floors with the dark side and the light side, and how powerful the dark side is and its ultimate persuasion, right? It's tricking you into falling deeper into the dark side so you can ultimately succumb to its power. And I think a lot of these shorts do the best that they can with the time that they have. And I would like to see more. What if they did that? What if they allowed them to tell a 45-minute story, or an hour story? And I think that's why Visions ultimately suffers from the Netflix, whatever you want to call it. You know how Netflix is ultimately releasing everything all at once so you can binge it? I don't like that. I don't like how Visions gets put on the side burner like that. Visions should be released every single week, just like Star Wars. Yes, it's only a 15-minute, 20-minute episode. It is a short. But I think what's happening is you're allowing so many people to consume one product all at once at night. And instead of having 9 weeks of the show living its life, you only have one night, 1 hour. And then you will also release it on the busiest week for Star Wars, which is usually around May and May 4th. And so there's so many people that aren't going to enjoy it as much as they probably could have. You're watching someone that does it on a live stream, you're watching a reaction, and then there's so many reactions, there's so many episodes. I think that's also one of the reasons why Visions probably hasn't become a larger hit. Not saying it's not successful, because it is successful. It's not becoming a larger hit with the casual fan base, the ones that only watch live action. And I think that when you are around the world of Star Wars and you're seeing so much content coming out that may not be for you, I think that 7 to 9 weeks of you seeing it over and over, getting promotions for it, people getting excited about it, people talking about these characters, school is going on, maybe your son or daughter talks about it, and then you come home and F it, man, I'm gonna watch it. There's more opportunity for that to happen, and a casual fan to be more open-minded about it than just one night and it's gone after the weekend of reviews. And then of course you have Guardians of the Galaxy coming out this week too. I'm not sure what's going to, I'm sure there's people out there like myself that are gonna watch Star Wars over Guardians of the Galaxy, but you're talking about the final arc into a movie. Like, this is the last Guardians of the Galaxy movie from what we understand, and it's going up against the marketing and the hype of Star Wars. It's going against the hype of Star Wars Vision, and Star Wars Visions versus the last movie of Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't think that's a really great opportunity for more people to dip into it. But that's just me and how I see it from a marketing standpoint, because I'm a social media manager and I try to do the best that I can. So I see it, and these are the things that I see and what's trending on Twitter and what's not. And I think that it's a lot better if, instead of the vague Star Wars Visions hashtag is tweeting every just that one day over the weekend. I think it'd be more impressive if the title of the short was trending. And the only way that can happen is if these things are released weekly, just like every other Star Wars project on Disney Plus. But I would love to hear your ideas about this, because again, I'm only seeing it from my perspective and what I'm able to see, and that isn't a lot. I would like a greater variety to be absorbed and understand, because I think when you encounter this stuff from your angle, I think everyone has a different depiction, and I think that's what's so beautiful, is because, you know what? A lot of these people that I can tell on my channel, they're not as interested as, Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, and anything live action. It's very hard for people to get excited about live action it's very hard for people to get excited about animation, especially if they're never were really into cartoons and anime. And that was the biggest criticism of the first season, was that, oh, this is Japanese anime, I'm not really into it. And for me, that is the complete opposite. I mean, I've wanted Star Wars and anime to coexist and become one for so long, and that's why I probably love Star Wars Vision Season 1 more than the second season. But everybody else is different. I know a lot of people that love this season more because of the overall approach and the animation styles and the studios. For instance, I'm not really a big fan of like Chicken Run. And what's the other one that they did? Chicken Run and Wallace and Gromit. And, they were in this with I Am Your Mother. And the comedy style isn't, what I like. I actually did like I Am Your Mother because I thought it was hilarious, and I loved how they were just taking shots at Wedge Antilles for no reason. I don't know what was up with that, but I did see a lot of people like really enjoy it, and that's why I love Star Wars Visions, is the opportunity to get more people excited about Star Wars. And you never know what might happen. I don't know what's going to happen. Who knows? Maybe they might make some of this stuff into series, just like we've always been wanting. We wanted a Ninth Jedi movie. I wanted the dual stuff. I wanted Village Bride. I wanted all of these stuff. Even, oh my gosh, even Elder I thought was a fantastic opportunity to make a 25 episode season of Star Wars and just keep these things going. I would love to see where Screecher's Reach go. I would love to see more of the Sith. I would love to see more of Aeu's song. Aeu's song, dude. Aeu's song was fantastic. I did not think I was gonna be so up on that story, but I was. I loved that depiction of the Force, and that's what I love. I love everyone's different ideas, everyone's different perspectives, and how they view the Force in Star Wars, because I think that a lot of people's idea of Star Wars that we've seen so far is, a bit skewed and maybe also restrictive because they just haven't seen anything else from live action. And I think that's where animation has the advantage, because it can do the things that live action cannot. And I love that we have so much more Star Wars, and I hope that we keep getting opportunities to see more of these studios put in their time and money into this, man, because it is some of the greatest stuff that I've ever seen in Star Wars. And I hope you all enjoyed it too. That's gonna be it for this week on Unlock the Knowledge, fam. I hope you all enjoyed Star Wars Visions. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend and a fantastic week. Let me know what you all say about Star Wars Visions and what you would like to see. Or maybe not Star Wars Visions, or maybe just an animation project in general. What would you like to see? What are your stories? What are your ideas? Please comment below. Let me know. Hit me up on Twitter, fam, because it's coming into the Dark Temple. Visited by Mara Jade, Luke Skywalker, and Kyle Katarn, and so many other Force sensitives like yourself. I'm Lord Dagovere, fam. This was Unlock the Knowledge. I'll see you around. Deuces.